But Kev, let me just get your initial reaction or just your initial take on the news across the board when it comes to free agency so far today.
I mean, if I'm being completely honest with everybody, it's been a crazy day. Like Pat McAfee said it a couple of weeks ago, like we talked about. It was massacre in terms of clearing cap space and now signing people to all these deals. I got to give a quick shout out to the Tampa Bay Bucks. Um, I in my mind did not see this possible to basically reload their entire team and bring them back for another run. And not only that, they extended Tom for another year. They found a way to get their core linebackers back in action together. Obviously, Devin White's going to be another big contract next season. But for the relative most part, outside of Rob Gronkowski, the entire roster is pretty much coming back. And that took a lot to not only restructure those deals and make sure that you brought back everybody that you needed to, but everybody's happy. People were willing to take pay cuts to come back because they know that there's something special. And Tom took a cut. Mike Evans took a cut. It's insane, the willingness. We talked about it a few weeks even before I moved. A lot of these players at such a prime age in their career, they just kind of want to chase the bag. And in this case, they ended up, still making some good money, and they're still staying on this incredible team. So I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa goes on another Super Bowl run. But like I said, shout out to the Bucks GM and owner. They really got it done, and they made sure that they're poised for another championship run. And then right after that, I know we talked about it earlier today. The whole New England Patriots organization, I don't know if last year they took a year off or they were just kind of working through their problems, but Cam Newton getting re-signed for $14 million in the middle of the week or last week was kind of crazy. Obviously, them going out and signing Jonnu Smith to give him another weapon to go get him, Nelson Agholor, a known speedster who had some drop problems out there in Philly, but had a revitalized season last year in Vegas. So, I mean, Cam's got weapons on the defensive side of the ball. They reloaded. You know what I mean? They went out there and they got Judon. They got Jalen Mills. Obviously, that means Stephon Gilmore is definitely more than likely on the way out, going to be traded. So who knows what they get back in terms of capital for him. So I got winners of free agency thus far within the first 12 hours or within the first 6.5 hours. Free agency started at 12. I got the Tampa Bay Bucks bringing back their squad, and then I got the New England Patriots at a really close second for not only loading up the offensive struggles that they needed to for Cam, but to also go out there and sign some defensive players. Because remember, you guys had some players that opted out due to COVID, so you're going to get players back, and you got some prime free agents coming into the building. So I don't think New England's done necessarily. I think this year will give Cam a full off season to work out with the team, and he already knows how it works in the locker room and how it works in the building. So I think that the Patriots are poised as of right this second to make a good push to make a playoff run.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you when it comes to the winners of just day one of free agency.
Half of day one, not even a full day. It's crazy.
I know. It's just like I mentioned, there are going to be new reports coming out about new players getting signed to contracts while we record. But just based off of where we stand currently at 6:45 in the afternoon right now, I would definitely say that right now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers look to be primed, like you mentioned, for another Super Bowl run. If you're able to retain Shaq Barrett for not only just the rest of Tom's time in Tampa, but you signed him for a 4-year deal, $72 million. I believe half of his contract was guaranteed. Look, I think the reason why he ended up signing that deal with Tampa and not going elsewhere was, I think with Tampa, they're in a win now mode. They got Tom for probably maybe the next 2, maybe 3 years, just dependent on how he plays. And I think by and large, I think most of the players that were on that Super Bowl team last year have bought in to just the culture change that Brady has brought to the team. And I think as long as they keep winning, I think it's going to be able to keep those guys there as long as Tom keeps that team winning. I think right now, Tampa looks to be like the favorite coming out of the NFC right now, just off the fact that they were able to keep most of their core together. They were able to franchise tag Chris Godwin last week. They got Shaq Barrett. Now we'll see what happens when it comes to the Ndamukong Suh and Rob Gronkowski, but they were able to re-sign what was his name? Levante David.
Levante David.
That was a big signing, even though we both thought that he would re-sign with Tampa. Just all in all, I think the fact that Tampa was able to keep their core guys together from that Super Bowl run last year was pivotal for them. So you have to give, I believe it's Jason Light. He's the GM for the Tampa Bay Bucks. You got to give him a lot of credit for being able to bring these guys back into the fold going into next year. So if you're a Tampa fan right now, you got to be excited with where this team is heading going into next season. And then just to kind of piggyback off of the point that you made with the Patriots, man, they opened up the books today. They opened up those paychecks, and I mean, they're giving out money left and right, man. It's been a couple years since I've seen New England really put out a lot of money in free agency. The last time they could really think that New England really spent this amount of capital in the offseason was back in 2017 when they were able to bring in some really big free agents for them. Stephon Gilmore got signed in 2017. They also signed, I believe, Rex Burkhead and Chris Hogan. So, and not only that, they traded for Brandon Cooks that offseason as well. So they definitely moved some capital back then. And I think in this year, it's more of the same back compared to a couple of years ago. Nelson Agholor, I think he's going to be a solid receiver for them as long as he's able to separate. That's really the main issue when it comes to New England receivers is their inability to separate from defenders. But I like the signing of Jonnu Smith. I remember you and I had talked about that possibility of Smith going to New England a couple of weeks ago.
Ew.
When Tennessee wasn't going to re-sign him or franchise tag him. But I think it does give them a better tight end option than what they currently have on the roster when it comes to tight ends. And then I'll tell you this, they went pretty big on defense today. The signing of Jalen Mills, I think that pretty much ensures, it basically tells me that Stephon Gilmore is going to be out the door this offseason, and I think it's going to be via trade. I think we'll probably see that trade probably come to fruition probably within the next couple of days or maybe the next couple of weeks or so. And then I think also one of the more underrated signings I thought was Davon Godchaux. I think the last time he was playing in Miami this past season. So it does give them another pass rusher alongside Matt Judon and Dietrich Wise. All those guys got signed to new deals with the Patriots today. So I think New England's pass rush next year, I think is going to be stout just because you got Dietrich Wise and Matt Judon on the ends. You got Davon Godchaux and you got Adam Butler. It's going to be a decent core moving forward going into the next season. So I'm really excited to see what New England's pass rush is going to bring to the table next year. But I will say one of the more underrated signings of today, and I forgot to mention it at the top of the episode, Joe Thuney going to the Chiefs. Big signing because it addresses some of the offensive line concerns that Kansas City was dealing with, specifically in the Super Bowl when Patrick Mahomes was running for his life in that game against the Bucs. Signed into a 5-year deal, $80 million, gives them a solid piece at that guard spot. They still have to work out some of the tackle issues after Schwartz and Eric Fisher were cut, and I imagine they'll probably do that within the next couple of days in free agency or in the draft in the next couple. That'll actually be in a couple of weeks from now. I believe the draft takes place in April. So, and I saw the tweet from Patrick Mahomes. He had a nice smiley face emoji when it came to the news of Joe Thuney going to the Chiefs. So I think the Chiefs definitely got a solid piece to work with for the offensive line there. It's also a big pickup for them. And probably just one more guy that I'll mention, Aaron Jones going back to the Packers. Signed a 4-year deal. I believe it was $58 million for the total contract. I think just having him there, having stability in that backfield is going to be key just because the Packers can't rely too much on Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Jones has been one of the most reliable backs that Aaron Rodgers and that Packers offense has had in the last decade or so. So being able to retain him, I thought was key. They are letting Jamal Williams go. He put up an Instagram story today saying that he's going to be out of Green Bay, so he'll be looking for a new team very soon. But all in all, it's been a crazy day so far.